We're back. We are so back. The Challenge Historian podcast is back. The challenge itself, well, it's back on our TVs. That is for sure. But is it back? That's to be seen. It's the Challenge 41 episode 0, which is a real episode recap coming up right now. What up, my fellow Challenge lovers? Welcome to The Challenge Historian, where we dive deep into all things MTV's The Challenge, past, present, or future. If it's happening in the Challenge universe, we are here to document it. I am your host and dedicated Challenge Historian, Jacob Hollabaugh. Thank you so very much for being here with me today on the day of episode 1 of season 41, Vets and New Threats. A week after the actual first episode of the season, episode 0, took a little while, but we are here. We are going to cover very quickly episode 0 of the Challenge 41 and just get us a little prep work to do before we dive into episode 1 tonight, the quote-unquote premiere, even though, again, we'll discuss it, but it was premiered last week. We're mostly here just to let you know that we will be here for this season. Things will be a little bit different on the schedule, so let me go ahead and just give you the updates. No, it won't take until the 1 week later after the episode to get you the recaps. That is not the update, but you may have noticed there was no off-season content. There was meant to be, there was a long challenge off-season between 40 and 41. There was meant to be some content. There did not end up being any content. I apologize for that. The actual life updates for you are a bunch of different things have happened since the last time we spoke or hung out and talked about the challenge. I got divorced, which is very unfortunate. I moved, I changed jobs, kind of restarting life in general, you could say, in a lot of different ways. And the schedule and everything else is just very different. And it was a difficult, tenuous time. And so, challenge content went out the side. We took the off season to actually be an off season and focus on all the other many things going on in life. So you didn't get that off season content that was expected, but you will eventually get it. You will be getting additional content from me outside of just episode recaps at some point in the future here. It will likely be, though, in Patreon format, on a Patreon or on a site of that type where I can, at least in a very small, slight way, monetize doing that other content, doing any additional content outside of the episode recaps, which will always be free here on the podcast and on the YouTube channel, of course. But if I'm going to justify spending all the time that I spend a lot of time when I do dive deep into old seasons or rankings or different things like that, it will likely come with an extremely small subscription price attached to it that I will make very much worth whatever that ends up being, whenever and wherever that ends up being, hopefully in the not too distant future. But that is all I can say about that for now. As for season 41, again, you will be getting recaps. They will not always be Wednesday nights like they have been for all the seasons. We've been covering this show for now 300-ish episodes and 8 or 9 or 10 seasons worth of the challenge. I don't even know what it's been. It's been a while now. Thank you for all of those who have been here since the beginning. Thank you if this is the very first time listening. But new jobs and new things mean I won't always be available to watch in podcast immediately after live on Wednesday nights. The goal will always be to have them out sometime on Thursday, Friday at the absolute latest. There will be weeks where I will be able to do it on Wednesday night, just like we're used to, but just not every single one. It certainly will not be the following week the way this one is right now, but you will be getting those all throughout season 41, sometime between Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whenever the schedule allows me to be able to record and cover it. And then the special announcement, the super fun thing, speaking of additional content, there is some actual additional content coming your way that is guaranteed and is happening because some of the first version of it has actually already been recorded. And that is a very special collaboration that I have been dying to do, wanting to do for a very long time with the best of the best in the challenge media sphere. There is a lot of incredible people out here covering this show, fans just pouring their hearts into this show that they've loved for a very, very long time. I have been very fortunate to have them on as guests, a few here and there, be on other people's shows and podcasts here and there. There is some absolute legends covering this sport. This isn't a sport. This show, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's a sport. They like to think they're a sport. But there is one that I have always referenced as, the go-to. He's the GOAT of challenge recapping, and that would, of course, be Alan Aguirre. And Alan and I are going to be doing some collaborations. The first one has been recorded already and will be coming out we don't have an exact date, but the not too distant future. These will be happening though over on his YouTube channel, Caffeine Confessionals, and podcast Caffeine Confessionals. And I'm sure, I'll be sharing it a bunch on my socials, his socials, all of that. So what that's going to look like is pretty random. We have a bit of a structure we're working on. We're going to pick one season at a time, have some kind of big overarching question we're asking about that season, diving in a la his 10 things recaps that he will do from time to time, 10 things about said season. The very first one was on a season I didn't expect to be covering at any point, but turned into a pretty incredible conversation and also an extremely long conversation. We will get it down in the future, take some time. We'll get the structure nailed down. I'll stop being so long-winded, and they eventually won't be the 3 to 4 hours that this first one was. But Alan and I, over on Caffeine Confessionals, we'll be breaking down different seasons from the past. No particular order, no particular rhyme or reason, just whichever ones for some reason we have an interest in, we do a rewatch and we cover them there. So those are coming. The first one covering a semi-recent season that is a little bit controversial and polarizing, and some might even, I think some people would be like, that's not even a good season. What are you guys talking about that for? There's a lot of interesting things to talk about, so I won't spoil it. That will be coming out soon, and then throughout the summer, fall, rest of the year, we have not picked a particular cadence, but there will be season recaps coming between Alan and I. So that is very exciting. Season 41, also very exciting. That's all the updates I have for you now. Again, I know this is coming out the morning. This is Wednesday right now, the morning of episode 1, but it's still worth spending maybe 15 minutes max. That's my goal here from this moment on, 15 minutes on episode 0. We're going to really quickly talk about a few things from the episode itself, and then we're going to rank the new teams, give a power ranking just to set the stage for the season, put these new teams that have been formed into power rankings. So that's what we're here to do. Let's get started. Episode 0 of the Challenge 41, not promoted almost at all yet again. For I don't know how many seasons in a row they've now done an episode of this. You either called it episode 0 or a launch special or Meet the Rookies or whatever. I'd always kind of think of Spies, Lies, and Allies season 37 as the first one they did where it was like, this is a 60-minute episode. This is where we meet all these new people. This is one of the best episodes of the season. This is super fun. It's all at the house. And at the very end of it, they're lining up for the first daily challenge. And that is where we start episode 1, the premiere, quote unquote. And they've been doing it since then. I love this episode. It's very necessary to get as much time learning, especially on yet another season like this, where half of the cast is brand new to challenge fans. Depending what other shows you watch and consume, you may or may not know a decent amount of the people, or you may know basically none of them, like myself. I know very, very few of these new people, but now we're learning about them. And I don't want to, I've done the rant every one of these seasons of like, why is this not promoted? Why is it not considered an actual episode? I do not know. And, I'm just going to, at this point, always be confused by the strategy or lack thereof from MTV or Bunim/Murray or the production or whoever's making all the decisions about all this stuff. I've given up trying to understand that. So we'll move on. 3 sections of the episode itself. There was an opening race, there was the house, and there was the draft. Let's talk about each one really quickly. The opening race. Love this. I love one. We're obviously going to get to the draft. If you listen to almost any episode about this, any recap of old seasons at all, drafts work. Drafts are the best. And I even more love that there is some sort of challenge, usually a grueling endurance one, to decide the draft pick order. Love, love, love it. Now, when it first started, I thought it was just going to be I thought the vets were going to get to watch the rookies do this. And then like a moment in, they got to the first vet that was going up the mountain. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay. So everyone's taking part. Interesting choice. That sucks for the vets. I bet they were definitely thinking they were going to get this one off. The way that we did back on like War of the Worlds 1. Some other seasons have been like that, use that strategy, but love that we get to kind of see where all the rookies are and where all the vets are with a run up to the top of the mountain and a run back down to the house. Love the entire setup. Love that they finish at the house. That's fantastic. All of this is really good. All of the location and everything is really, really good. All that great. And I also love that it literally just starts like we're in it. We're in the race. I think that probably means this is one of those scenarios that I think they first ever did way back on the Gauntlet 2, where they go from the plane, they get on a bus, they think they're going to the house, or even just like pre-meetings or whatever. They've probably been in a hotel maybe for a day or two, whatever it has been. But the first place they're taken in whatever clothes they're wearing is to a challenge of some kind, and you've got to go do it to set the teams, etc., before you actually get to go in the house, before you actually get to have your first night and just kind of get acclimated. Love when they do that. Love when they just hop right on into it and make the players hop right on into it. The interrogation thing with the rookies is kind of lame. It's very necessary. It's very, very necessary. It introduces us to almost all of the people. I think the vet walking out and saying, "Why are you here?" whatever is very silly. I forget which of the rookies like actively laughed when their person did that or whatever, but I appreciated that from them, whoever that was. It's at least a good use of like, let's get TJ involved. There's definitely a couple funny moments. There's definitely a couple people who pop in those. Sydney, absolute star. If she even makes 4 or 5 episodes of this season, she's going to be one of the stars of the season, hands down. Love the moment between Blue and TJ when TJ's like, "I'm not a girl." That was really funny. So there was good stuff, and it was definitely necessary, but overall is like, it's a little lame, but whatever. And so yeah, that's the opening race. Jeremy absolutely smokes everyone, and sets himself up to be, top threat for sure. And then we go to the house. And we get to the house, and a couple things about the house in the house segment. First off, back to the location referenced earlier, but everything we've seen so far, love the location they're in. Love that they're borderline in the city. They got the view of the city. I've long been a proponent for like, you could have the houses be a little more in the city. You could let them like be back out in the cities again. I know it's way harder, way more expensive liability, all that stuff. But I always loved back in the day when they like actually got to go out in the, like be a part of the city wherever they are at. So loving the house overall. Felt like the setup of the house was nice enough. It looked nice enough. Loved everything about it in the location. It felt like they made the star of the house segment, as much as they did try to give us a nice little like, here's this person again, like keep up with the introductions of all the new people and give us a little bit of time, with some of the vets that are a little newer coming back or anything, like a Rogan or whatever, although Rogan was doing everything necessary to deserve the camera time that he got in this one. He proves why he is a fantastic cast member. And, he was one of the ones I was most excited for back when the cast was announced, when they left. You can go back and listen to that if you want more of a preview and my thoughts on the cast and etc. But Rogan and Michaela were the 2 vets that I was like most excited for. And then of course, Ashley Mitchell as well. But the ones I was not excited for was the super duper vets, the Bananas, Anissa, CT, Leroy's, Nani's of the world. Holding out hope for Nani that there is actually an interesting story to be told here, given the life circumstances that have changed for her from the last time we saw her, or kind of, I mean, it was happening or whatever. Yeah, basically from last time we saw her. I know we just saw her on All Stars and we kind of knew because when it's filmed versus when it's shown, all that. But maybe there's something worth, a storyline we haven't seen or a new portion of the story to tell for Nani. So maybe I shouldn't include her in that group. But Bananas, Anissa, CT, and Leroy, we've seen it. We've seen the same stories over and over and over. I just don't think there's anything, like anything new or interesting that's going to really like, their arcs are finished. We finished their arcs. We finished their character stories a while ago, a long, long while ago. And it seems like, especially in Banana's case, they really put him forward as like the star of this. He definitely knows his way around getting camera time and what to do and who to talk to and in the different events to make happen, like jumping in the pool, all the guys get in the pool, et cetera, et cetera. I do think the strategic element of, him trying to get in good with all the guys is probably smart to start. We'll see what the format ends up being. But the like him aggressively hitting on D, him just kind of being the ringleader of the house and everything else. I'm just like I love Bananas. I have long time been a Bananas, not nowhere near stan, but fan on the show. Always talked positively of him on the show and his impact, and up until recently, like I always took him as the GOAT over CT. All of that stuff. Like this is very pro Bananas podcast, pro Bananas fan over here, but it's just like I've seen everything in this episode. It's just like I've seen this over and over, and like this is why, the beauty of the challenge is the folks able to do it over and over and over and over. But I really think there needs to be like a season limit, and that season limit probably needs to be like 10. And Bananas and CT and Aneesa are somewhere in their 20 something season. This is like Bananas like 25th or something great, like unbelievable. We don't need it. I digress. Let's talk about the draft. Then they go to the first daily challenge and they learn that they get to draft their teammates, as most of them had figured out based on, or maybe they told them up front. I forget exactly what TJ said at the beginning. But they get to draft their teams based on where they finished. Now, I don't love a joint draft as much. If there's anything about a draft that I can ever be like, oh, it's no longer absolutely perfect, and usually it's absolutely perfect. I don't love the joint draft because then there's not that many people to really pick from, and it just, I don't know. I much more prefer one side picks or the other side picks, and it's like the vets get to all pick a rookie, or the rookies all get to pick a vet. But overall, it's still a draft. I still love it. It still works. It works every single time. Drafts are good. Drafts should happen all the time on the challenge. Almost every season should come with a draft if the format makes sense to incorporate one and then stick with those teams. I would love if these new teams that we have, and we're going to power rank here in just one moment, stay the teams for the whole season. We get CT Pro Tips. They're bringing that back. I don't know that we need to bring that back again to the like staleness of the Super Duper Vet cast members. Is there anything new to do? CT Pro Tips were like a fun little thing to throw in on season 40. But I don't know if like that's the best use of well, like I'm saying that in the wrong way. It was going to come out wrong. If that's the best we got, the best way to use CT is like as the super vet breaking something down and giving tips in the interview, then then I don't know that like, again, that he or others in his position are necessary to bring on the show. As for the format, we don't know much, but we do know TJ, he is, obviously, he's always told very specific phrases that need to be worked in that are hints towards rules of the game, the format of the game. And he says, and he makes sure to really highlight the fact you need your partner to win. And so that gives me hope that this partner that they are with right now, they will be with at the end, and somehow, some way, they will play a part in helping each other in a final in the end, even if they're only one of them eventually wins at the very end. But I noted that it was like, that was the thing that he had to really enunciate and really make sure everyone heard. You need your partner to win. So that gives me hope for the format. We will see next week. And then a couple of the just like the picks themselves before we do the actual power rankings. But Jeremy picking Aviv first. First pick, big important pick, needs to be noted. He goes with Aviv. At first, I was a little like, whoa, wait a minute. Aviv's the first pick in this draft. But then I surveyed the options, and I actually think it was a pretty damn good pick. I think it might be the right pick. I don't know that there was an obvious perfect option where it's like, oh, how could you? Like, it should have obviously been Cara Maria or this person or that person or anyone else. I think, one, he had picked up strategically, or maybe I'm giving him too much credit if he didn't pick up on this, but either way, I think this is a helpful thing, that Bananas is, the ringleader of the vets, or at least is going to espouse himself as that. Whether everyone else actually agrees with that, he's going to verbally say that out loud and hope that people agree with it. And he is immediately like, well, the new guy who's super handsome and super big and athletic and jacked and just smoked everyone in this race, we're going to go, that guy's the new target. And so Jeremy responds with, not only Aviv is she a really good athlete on her own and decent enough at puzzles, and she has had a win in her past, and she's still in fantastic shape and all of that, but she is now post-season 40 super tight with Bananas. That's probably her strongest ally in the house by far. Not even probably. It is her strongest ally in the house. And so if Jeremy picked up at all on like Bananas might be one to come at me, now to do so, he has to go at who is supposedly his new number one female in the house. So that is very smart on all fronts. And I don't think there was a kind of obvious pick to replace that with. So I think good job with the first pick. And then otherwise, mostly everything goes like I think as it probably should. I think Theo was the right pick. Theo and Olivia both, I think their partners, whoever picked them, I don't even have it pulled up in front of me. We'll get to them in a minute. But I think they were smart to think like these two are both pretty good at this and in that kind of influential newer vet stage and are connected to each other and therefore can get a nice little group of 4 going. Plus, if they could grab one other friend here or there and like get a nice little, like we can right off the bat have a pretty solid team and have a pretty solid like 4 to 6 person voting block on our side. And maybe we could grow that a little bit. So I think those were solid picks. The only single one to go at my girl who I think it was one of the ones I was most excited for even though I knew almost nothing about her and couldn't even remember her, but I do watch Survivor. And so I knew, I knew Dee and I knew Sydney. And I think, is there another Survivor player on here? I don't even remember, but I barely could remember Sydney, but then I got super excited when I did go back and like remember who Sydney was. And I just said earlier, absolute star, going to be a star of this, just love everything she's bringing to it. The cockiness, the confidence. It's fantastic. I think she was the only one that made a bad pick. I think I needed her. I needed her to pick Derek K. Going with Leroy, I think was the wrong move. Now, if she's that confident in all things puzzles and politics, great. And you're just like, hey, Leroy looks like he's gotten himself in decent shape. He's friends with a couple key people. And so like he'll be the muscle. I'll be the brains and the muscle in the politics and the social. And like, I just need him to basically like carry heavy things if we're asked to carry heavy things and be able to mostly keep up with the conditioning. And also Leroy can eat. I don't know if she knows that or not, but like, that's a nice thing to have around too. Sure. But he's never won. He's got a couple connections, but they're connections that sometimes haven't always come through for him the way he comes through for them. And, it just hasn't been as impactful of a comeback after the like 1 season retirement as you would like it to have been. And I think it was the only mistake. I think she should have picked Derek Kaczynski. I think if she maybe would have figured out that like, yes, he's not as tied to that many people, but there are some of these super vets that do love him. He's in fantastic shape. And if you can do the puzzles, that is obviously the math in the puzzles, but mostly the math, then like Derek is the ultimate workhorse next to you. Great at eliminations, great in dailies, can be really good again if you're doing the math in most of the puzzles in a final. Can be connected and can totally at this point of his life like go with the flow, be like, you want to, yeah, sure, you can do the politics stuff, let me know if I need to get like CT or Anissa or Johnny to like agree with us on something. I'll do that, otherwise you can do it. I think that would have been the best team, but overall I think that was the only pick that I really had like, oh, I think you should have went this way. The rest of it good, draft's good, love it all. And finally, let's go ahead and power rank all of these teams then from 1 to 16. 32 total people here, 16 teams of 2. These power rankings are based on very, very little other than basically the vets' relationships that I know they have and this opening performance in confessionals and the very little info that I have on most of these rookies, because new threats, if they really make them say new threats and don't let them say rookies again, like they did back on Total Madness when they had to all, like they were told, like for some reason, I guess rookie became a pejorative or something. I don't know. But it was like you have to call them prospects. They're prospects. Rookies is demeaning in some way. It's like it's their first time playing. It's just it's a pretty common word. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But hopefully they get to say rookies at some point this season and don't have to say new threat, my new threat partner over and over and over. So this is going to be pretty random and probably going to change dramatically within the first couple episodes of the season when we see where alliances go. But here it is. We'll go top to bottom. We'll spend some time on the top. We'll go pretty fast through the bottom. I put Izzy and Theo first. I think obviously Izzy did really well in the won the run on the female side. I think Theo is still in a really good place as a competitor. I think he did pretty well on 40. And then again, I think Theo and Olivia as the new golden couple of the show, power couple in the house, have some good connections from the last couple seasons they've done with some of the other folks. And definitely, I think Olivia especially has because she's from Love Island. She was from Love Island originally, right? Is that correct? I don't know. But I feel like she's proven her few seasons she's been on, like, quickly can make friends with all the new girls, quickly can make friends with basically everyone in the house. And so I just like the setup they've got, that they're not going to be the top threat that everyone is looking at. I don't know why. I just decided Izzy and Theo had to be first. And then the second team, I already talked about him once, but this is the biggest surprise. When I really looked at the teams, I was like, I kind of like Derek in, is it Leka? I think it's Leka. But I still have never went and watched. I still want to, but she is from the like Ultimate Challenge Canada show that looked super hardcore, and she looks like just a phenomenal athlete and very confident. And again, I think Derek has some actual connections in the house and is great at eliminations if they get thrown into him. And I just looked at them and was like, I don't know if she can do the puzzles and the math. If it turns out she can, this team is going to be very good. They were my surprise one. I put them at number 2. Jeremy and Aviv, number 3. Obviously, this team is really, really good, but will be that initial target, or at least we're led to believe that they will be, because how dominant he was in the opening thing, and that she's good and everything else, and she's connected to Bananas, so anyone that wants to go against Bananas still would be like, oh, that's actually a good thing, let's take her out, etc., etc. But they're still really, really good competitively. They got to be 3rd. Cedric and Olivia, mainly for all the Olivia and Theo things I said before, and Cedric did a good job, so they're in 4th. Jake and Cara Maria. Now, is this just some Jake love? Is this just good old-fashioned Cara Maria love because I love Cara Maria? Or they just seem like a good team, and at some point this has started to turn into like, how did everyone do in the opening thing? And do you have an obvious target or an obvious enemy in the house? Then, like, we kind of just fall into place. Bananas and D6, just off respect for D, incredible Survivor performance and player, maybe the best of the new era. I would maybe argue a little, but she's definitely in the conversation, and I would totally understand why some people definitely, and a lot of people would think she's the best Survivor player of the new era, 41 to now. And Bananas is Bananas, and sometimes it can go really, really great, and sometimes it can go really awful, and we will see what happens there, but I kind of like couldn't put them any lower than that one off their reputations. Then Michaela and Will, super high on Michaela. Don't know anything about Will. Don't know anything about almost any of these rookies, new threats. Turbo in America in 8th. Turbo's always the ultimate wild card. I think America is one of the wild card rookies on the season of like, is she good enough athletically? And like, does she become like a puzzle person that can really help? And as always, it's just with Turbo, does he and his partner able to communicate and work together? And what's the vibe there? Because it's been a disaster. It's been really great. It's been both of those things at the same time for him and partners before. So they're just square in the middle, because I just don't know where Turbo is the ultimate like high ceiling, low floor situation. Sydney and Leroy 9th, covered them before. I think she should pick Derek, but it's still a great team. None of that was to say that I don't still love Leroy to death. Still rooting for him to win for sure. Nany and Ben 10th. Ashley and Gabe, not Will, Gabe in 11th, Tay and CT in 12th. And that's the point where I have a cutoff. And if I had to say, are there any teams that just from the jump, I can't see it. I can't see them winning. There is 4. I'm putting Tay and CT above the line of could they win? Just out of respect for CT's legacy and out of respect for like, does it seem like this CT is going to dominate a final? No, it doesn't. But he can still dominate some eliminations if he gets thrown in there, or so he could still very much get to a final. And you never know. You never know. So he's above the line, but in 12th. I think Ashley and Gabe, Nany and Ben, Sydney and Leroy, Turbo and America all are kind of in a grouping of like, I could see it, but I'm squinting really hard, but I could see it. And then below that, 13 through 16, Justin and Naya, Derek and Blue, Adrian and Rogan, Leo and Anissa. And really, I guess, could see it for any of those teams. Probably not Leo and Anissa. Probably not Justin and Naya, mainly because I just have such concerns of Naya and Anissa in the final. Although, I wanted to think Anissa, had upped the game, but the performance wasn't great in the opening one. But it was also like the opening thing. I see a world where her and CT could, not that they like suddenly could actually be winning the endurance things or anything like that, but I think they could have done better if it wasn't their 20 whatever season. It's super hot, them kind of not really caring what position they finished, etc. I think they both CT and Anissa would have done a little bit better if like this was like, this is to make the final, you can't get last, or it's a purge or whatever like that. But I have to draw a line somewhere. I have to try to make some sort of claim here off of almost no information. So I'm going with there's 4 teams that can't win. Crossing them off from now. Derek and Blue are the one I feel and I know I'm crossing off another champion in Rogan too, but Derek and Blue are the only ones that I'm like, I need to see what Blue's got before I would actually throw them, like cross them off, because I think Derek, if he can get into the final, has just proved recently, can do really, really well and is built to do really, really well in a final. It's getting to the final that could be the hard part. In this house, he doesn't have too many connections, so it's we'll see. I don't feel good about crossing them off. But those are the power rankings. I think Izzy and Theo, Derek and Lika, Jeremy and Aviv, Cedric and Olivia, Jake and Cara Maria, Bananas and D. I feel pretty good that those 6, and then everyone else after, and it's just all a toss-up. Who knows? Tonight, tomorrow, whenever we record after episode 1, this will all look very different. 2 weeks from now, this will look incredibly different. Obviously, some people won't be there, but it'll look incredibly different. So that was your hopefully super fast. Let's check the time. Okay, we still ended up at 30 minutes, but like 7 or 8 minutes of that was all the preamble and everything else. So episode 0, that was that. Hope you watched it. Hope you listened to this. Like, comment, subscribe, all those good things. Episode 1 recap will be out sometime on Thursday or very early Friday morning. One of those two. It will not be tonight, Wednesday night. But I thank you. We'll be covering the season all season long, sometime between Wednesday and Friday, whenever we're able to get a record. If for some reason you don't already follow Alan Aguirre on Twitter or Caffeine Confessionals on YouTube or podcast platform, whatever you listen or watch, definitely go do that so you will be alerted. I will definitely alert you on this show when those season recaps with him start coming out. Love you. Thank you. I will talk to you very, very soon again. Peace.